Breakfast with the authors round 2. Hope everybody got his coffee and bread. Actually, as we have a quite big round table, we'll have to be a little bit faster, Milan, than yesterday. Also, we have a Claude that will speak in French, and Anja Banko will translate in English to him. But I will start. Let's start with Marko Tadić, because he's a little bit in a hurry. He has many things to do, I guess, in Zagreb, preparing some art exhibition, making some paintings, maybe making some animation in between, I'm not sure. Marko, the Moving Elements is a Zagreb film and production. And in a way, it was, if I'm not wrong, maybe I'm wrong, it was kind of commissioned film. It was, because it's, through the film you are paying tribute to the pioneers of the famous Zagreb School of Animation.
Yeah. Simon from Zagreb Film, Simon Bogović Narad, who became the artistic director a few years back. He invited me, after he saw a couple of my films, he invited me to produce something for Zagreb Film. And as I was working with Creative Syndicat already, we did a co-production. No? And I already had, does it work? I already had this idea of creating this homage to the Zagreb Animation Film School, especially Kristel Vukotić.
Let's say Vladimir Kristel. It's very important we mentioned the complete name, because even in the world of animation professionals, I think it's not so known author, but I think it really should be prized and should be revisited with his opus. Not a big opus. He made only 2 animated films, if I'm not wrong.
He was more into experimental film than animations, but one of the most famous ones is Don Quixote, which is very experimental in its visually not that experimental, but in the kind of the adaptation of Don Quixote in this case is very experimental. Mm-hmm. And you can see this film at the Museum of Contemporary Art now. I saw it yesterday. They have a small exhibition on the new tendencies. And there is the Chagrin's Skin and Don Quixote.
Mm-hmm. In Ljubljana?
Now, as we speak, yeah.
In Metelko, okay.
It is more than obvious, I could say so, that the visual look of your film has to meet the demandings of the visual style of all the masters of the Zagreb School. So can we say that your style is pretty eclectic, because you're combining geometric abstraction with the elements of cubism and expressionistic style?
My film could be some a sort of simplification of everything they did, you know, because this is my kind of reinterpretation of their visual language and of the adaptation of serious themes in a very simple way, so we can say. And this is something that the visual language in the film is something that I kind of produce aside also, like all the collages, drawings, sculptures, and animation kind of is part of the same thing.
And why did you use a machine, a car? It is symbolically something that moves, that is mobile as well, but why not, for example, human figure or something like that?
I have never studied animation, and this is much more simple to use the car.
I appreciate your honesty.
Okay, but Marko, you are a painter, a fine artist. Why this need to use the language of animated film as well as other things that you're doing?
With me, it's about the moving image of kind of getting these images that I kind of create to move and to exist in time. Mm-hmm. So kind of to give everything that I do a new perspective.
And actually, it's like your way of making it. I think I'm following you for a few years now, and it's like found objects, mostly photography, postcards from period. Do you have a defined period that you are into, and then that's a question, and then you are painting or drawing over and fulfilling those realistic photos with your visions.
It depends. Some moments they're the direct references to the period, let's say modernism, post-war, 20th century. And sometimes it's just kind of this exercise into history with Born by the Birds that was created completely on old postcards, where postcards and photos become scenography.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the last one. Now it's a time or a period where we talk a lot about expanded cinema, like not so much like in a general view, but like a lot of festivals, special experimental film festivals and galleries, they're embracing this moving image moment. How important is it for you? We've been talking yesterday, and you were saying like even like seeing it on a big screen in a cinema, you felt a little bit uncomfortable because like you think it works better in a gallery. It would be.
Yeah, it's a completely different thing. Because animation in the context of gallery is viewed in a completely different manner by a completely different public, and in the cinema as well, completely different. But to talk about the expanded cinema and cinema by other means, lately it came into fashion, let's say, mainly after the book by Paolo Levi, Cinema by Other Means, where he did this research on anything cinema by other means, so anything that kind of relates to cinema but is not film. So it's about the moving image and all the kind of ways how to represent film, and not the film in the sense of narrative kind of, you know, not just story, but kind of like a thing that lasts in time and talks about something, and how to create that on paper or in sculpture or in performance video.
Mm-hmm. I have one last, because like you put out this word like narrative. For you, the process of working, I don't believe that you do the usual, how to say, the way like with the preparation, like storyboard, animatic. You just go. I think you are in your studio. And
firstly, I have to apply, so I do all the things that I need to, like to write the synopsis and but I never follow that, because in the process, in my style of work, I can never, because things kind of relate to one another day by day, and they change. It's like a constant flux of ideas. So I apply one thing, and then completely other thing comes out. You know.
Are you preparing something new in terms of?
Yes, I'm working on adaptation, experimental adaptation of 2 short stories by Thomas Bernhard. So we'll see.
Thank you, Marko. Please give me the mic. I give it to Anja here in my back. So we talk with Claude Luyet because Anja, she must leave soon. Le fil d'Ariadne, Ariadne's thread. It's a, I would say, like a beautifully executed film. It's about a life cyclus. But in a way, I feel, Claude, that it's a film about a generation that is almost gone. You have like there are flashbacks on a war. I presume it's the Second World War. We are following this family, even though the Ariadne, the woman, she's the one that we see in the first plan. The man is somewhere in the back, like this baby. It's coming in, but it's not so important. I feel. Who is Ariadne, and why you take her as a symbol of a time that passed?
Bon, je ne sais pas si j'ai tout à fait compris, mais la question c'est qui est Ariadne exactement? Bon, on peut le modèle un peu, c'est finalement la génération de mes parents. Et il y a un point commun, par exemple, c'est que ma mère était couturière. Mon père n'a pas fait le travail qu'il aurait voulu, bien sûr, puisque justement le XXe siècle a été assez marqué par les guerres, et donc ça a coupé beaucoup de possibilités à plein de gens.
Okay. The film talks about the generation of my parents, and some similarities. Ariadne, it's my mother, and she was also coutière. Tailor, yeah. And my father, he didn't work in a field he would like to, but this is due to the war, because the war destroyed many possibilities to do what people wanted.
I know you are working in near Genève in the studio GDS, which you founded together with Georges Fitzgerald. And I visited you a few times while you were working on this film. I think it took you a really, really long time. If I'm not wrong, almost 7-8 years to finish this film. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Non, il a duré un peu moins que 7-8 ans.
Okay.
Mais là, en fait, il faut préciser que je fais aussi la production. Donc, avec Georges, je fais la production de ses films, je fais la production des films. Donc, on fait à peu près tout, la comptabilité, absolument tout. Et donc, il faut déjà compter une année, simplement pour arriver à monter le projet et trouver le financement. Après, il reste 3 ans, ce qui est encore long. Mais finalement, à part pour la première fois, il y a eu un animateur qui a travaillé. Et autrement, j'ai travaillé seul, excepté pour le son, bien sûr, qui était fait par Christophe Herral, avec qui j'ai déjà beaucoup travaillé.
It didn't took exactly 7-8 years to finish the film, but as I was doing everything alone, also the production, this took 1 year. And this was the first year when I just started the project, and I had to find the money. And after that, it took me 3 years. And I worked with an animator, and for the sound, there was a man I work with a lot, Christophe Herral. Okay.
Et la petite précision aussi, c'est que en général, je n'enchaîne pas les films. J'attends d'avoir un projet qui vraiment est obligatoire pour moi. Voilà. Donc je le fais pas exactement comme tous les professionnels actuellement qui doivent enchaîner pour ne pas disparaître. Pour moi, c'est important que le sujet soit suffisamment fort pour que je puisse m'accrocher 3 ans dessus.
So I have to say that I'm not one of those animators who makes one film after another in a row, because if I'm making a film, it must really I really want to make it. The subject I'm dealing with must be really it must touch me enough to, for example, work on it for 3 years. So I'm not one of those professionals who is just making film one after another, not to disappear from the world of animation.
Et aussi, ça prend plus de temps parce que chaque film est dans un style différent, ou parfois ce n'est qu'une idée, ça peut être plus expérimental. Donc, chaque fois que je commence un film, le visuel est en fait en fonction du scénario. Et ici, c'est narratif, donc le visuel est un peu plus classique. Voilà.
Okay. So I have to say that it takes a bit more time because every film is made in a different style. It's maybe just an idea, and they're more experimental, and also the visuals, they are very important, and they vary from film to film. Yes.
Well, it looks like that all elements of the film's story or narratives are perfectly fit. At the beginning of the film, we can hear the sound of a sewing machine. So, as we know that Ariadne, according to old Greek myth, was a weaver, it's such a nice combination. And as we know also the fact from the myth that she was the one who saved Theseus' life from the labyrinth. Can we say that the 20th century, which is the main subject of the film, I could say so, is the labyrinth full of turbulency and dangerous things and many, many minotauruses?
Oui, bon, il faut évidemment que je parle c'est comme un jeu de mots de prendre le fil d'Ariane, puisque dans la mythologie grecque, il y a bien sûr Ariane qui a donné donc le fil à Thésée pour pouvoir permettre à Thésée de retrouver son chemin après avoir tué le Minotaure. Et évidemment, c'est un jeu de mots puisque elle, le fil, c'est le fil pendu, mais il est le rapport aussi avec le fait qu'on ne voit jamais ce qui se passe à l'intérieur. Donc, c'est aussi un rapport avec le labyrinthe. Et l'autre chose, c'est que dans les versions, par exemple, de la mythologie grecque, il y a beaucoup de versions très différentes. La fin de Ariane, la fin la plus tragique, elle se jette du haut d'une falaise, et la fin la plus douce, elle se console après que Thésée l'ait quitté, avec Bacchus ou Dionysos, d'une manière plus agréable. Et en fait, il y a aussi un rapport.
Okay. Alors, okay, it's a game of words from the Greek mythology, from Ariadne and Thésée. You know, there are many variants of this myth, and it's Ariadne who gives the Dread. Yeah, okay, to Thésée, not to get lost. And after then, there is also the labyrinth, and we never see inside the labyrinth. And the end, Ariadne has a sad end. She jumps down the balcony. No, balcony. Rocks, okay. And Thésée, he has a more joyful end. He parts with Bacchus or Dionysus. Yeah.
Encore quelque chose à dire?
Non, seulement un détail, c'est que je me suis évidemment fixé l'obligation qu'on ne voie jamais à l'intérieur et que j'arrive à faire comprendre tout seulement avec le son et les habits qui sont affichés. Je crois que ça se voit assez clairement.
So, just one detail. I really wanted that we never see inside the labyrinth because everything was just to be visible with the sound and the clothes who are hanging there, that are hanging there.
Okay, last question. Claude, how difficult was for you personally also to adapt to the new digital era? Meaning, like you are a generation that was still like painting on cells and making the film in a traditional way. You had a 35mm Bolex camera in the studio you were shooting. So this adaptation to a new way of making, actually to a easier way of making, like with the computer and everything. How was this for you personally to adapt, and do you think you managed to adapt?
Oui, c'est vrai, c'est le premier film où je travaille vraiment en numérique. Mais bien sûr, on peut tout faire. Il y a beaucoup de possibilités. Ça devrait aller plus vite. Au contraire, parce qu'on va essayer d'épuiser toutes les possibilités qu'on a. Pour moi, c'est un peu la première expérience, surtout de travailler directement, même pour le tracé. L'animation a été faite sur papier, donc, et ce qui m'intéressait surtout formellement, c'était de travailler les matières. Alors, je pense que peut-être j'aurais pu trouver un trait plus personnel. Je pense que ça viendra. Mais ça m'a beaucoup intéressé de mélanger les matières et photos et pinceaux et de mélanger tout ça. Il y a énormément de couches pour faire ça. Pour ceux qui ont l'habitude de travailler.
Okay. So that was the first time I worked with digital animation. Yeah, you can do everything with digital, and it goes a bit faster. But it was my first experience, and I made it the first on the beginning on paper, and I really liked and enjoyed working with the material. But I still have to find some expression more personal, and I really I like to mix the materials, paper and so on.
And we were talking yesterday, like even if you should you could go in a well-deserved retreat, but you told me like that you don't think about hitting art and working in art, but you have a big question in front of you. Either you were telling me you have a big project, but probably this would be as a producer for a feature animated film with a great Swiss artist Thomas Ott, that is known for his scratched, wordless comics or illustration. Or on the other hand, you were saying that maybe you would like to return where you begin, for example, with your film Rush, like short, experimental, playful animation that you want to do. So, do you know which of the two you will follow?
Non, alors précisément, c'est exactement le moment où je ne sais pas si je vais basculer et me relancer dans un grand projet et chercher le financement, mais je vois que ça peut être un projet assez compliqué et techniquement et aussi par le sujet. Pour ceux qui connaissent les bandes dessinées de Thomas Ott, le scénario qu'on a fait ensemble est évidemment aussi noir que ces bandes dessinées, donc c'est peut-être pas évident pour le public. Et c'est quand même un projet qui serait en tout cas de 10-12 minutes, donc qui est déjà assez fort. Et maintenant, je vois que si un film ne croche pas tout de suite, c'est plus difficile pour le passer. Alors, je peux aussi m'engager avec des financements moindres, tout seul, à faire des recherches plus expérimentales. Et évidemment, les deux m'intéressent. Je n'ai pas encore choisi.
So that's the precise moment I don't know what I want to do, because I could do the bigger project with the comic maker Thomas Ott, but and I could like start to find money for the producement and so. But I think that the subject is like really dark. If you are familiar with the comics, then you would know that. And there is already a film in film 10 to 12 minutes, but it's really difficult, and I don't know how this will work as a feature film. And but I could still like go back and do my own work, more experimental. But right now, I really don't know. I haven't decided yet.
Merci Claude, merci Anja pour nos idées. Merci. So we go on to Vladimir Leschiov, waiting for the new year. Vladimir, nice to have you finally in Ljubljana after so many years and so many films actually that you made. It's a greatly well executed film. In a way, maybe we could connect it with Claude's, because it's like a cyclic story about life, about solitude, even if the person that you are following, this lady, actually the cleaning lady, is is surrounded by some people, but then she's alone until the end, I think. Why this topic? And also like put it in a historical time. I think it's like maybe it's Russia, maybe it's Latvia, maybe it's no, it's USSR, no, it's CCP, Soviet Russia. Okay, 60s. So this question a little bit more open-minded, so you can start to maybe tell, put it in the context a little bit.
Working? Yeah. Yes, but yeah, in the beginning I was thinking about the 70s, so it was under inspiration of my, particularly my childhood, because I spent a lot of time with my grandmother. She was street cleaner. She was working outside, and I was staying alone, so I was doing some, you know, as a boy, playing and so on, and I remember that she was wearing, you know, in this heavy dress and going out and cleaning this snow and so. But then I really moved away from this certain time. So you can see that there is maybe even nowadays something modern, and some Japanese people appear. So it's not actually well connected to Latvia or Russia or even USSR. So actually there is no certain time, and Brezhnev on TV it's a kind of metaphor, just like country leader congratulates nation with the coming new year and so on. It's not film about Brezhnev. It's not a film about Soviet times. It's a little like puzzles from different time periods.
So what about the inscription on the wall? Vovka.
Little jokes.
It's not the joke actually. It's a message. It's a message. It's you know,
graffiti?
If you know my films, so I used to put in my films sometimes short messages to my friends or to people whom I respect, and it's just like you know, maybe it's kind of my signature.
Okay.
So this message on the wall really exists, and it's actually on above my door, because in 80s we didn't have any mobiles, we didn't have any even wire phones, so it was hard to communicate. You know, being youngsters, we couldn't communicate such easy way like people do now. And a friend of mine, he was living in Odessa and frequently coming to Riga. And when he came to Riga, he needed to, he visited my home. I was not at home at the time, so he just put this message that he's
Was there.
yeah, and this means, this writing means that I came. So it's just like, I came, I'm here. So now I need to act somehow to find him. So this was just a message to him, because he's now for many years living in the United States, so it's not easy now for us to meet each other. So.
Watercolor or colors or aquarelle is a very demanding and very delicate painting technique, as well as technique which is to be used in animated film. You use it masterfully, very much so. What was the moment you decide the technique as something that can express the most precise you imagine as a picture in your film?
Probably it's probably because I cannot say that I'm animator. So
What? You cannot say that you are.
I cannot say that I'm good animator. I'm better maybe artist because I actually started as an artist before I came to animation. And each film depends from the story. It tells me which technique should I use for this film. So it's very important. So my films are different actually, technically, if you know. And every time it's like depends from the story. I'm looking for technique, so for the proper technique for this film. And I found out that watercolors fits better to this kind of story because itself watercolors. So it's a very poetic technique, and it's a transparent and it's light and it has some notes of nostalgia. So
maybe melancholy.
Yes, right.
Yeah, because also like in the film, melancholia is important. I mean, it's all through the film we feel this. There is a feeling of life gone in a way.
Yeah, it's like a cycle. You know, you think that it's all the time cycle, but one day this cycle can be broken. You know, but it's like the daily routine. You know, It's also what I was thinking actually that the film starts with the 1st of January actually, the beginning of the film. It's the early morning of after the New Year evening, yes, and then it starts from the beginning of the year already with waiting for the next New Year. So because I remember when I in childhood, actually kids have not that much days to celebrate, and it was like a birthday and New Year, so 2 very important days in the year for kids because they can get a gift, you know. So, and 1st of January is a starting point for waiting for the next gift.
And what is that? Okay. The cleaning lady is obviously waiting all year for something, or maybe to be more precise, he's waiting for someone, because in some interface, so to say, in your film, we can see some unknown men doing their stuff. So can we say that she's waiting for his prince on white horse or something like that?
Yes, of course. Yes. Yes, she's lonely. She's waiting for her man. It's not maybe okay. It's she waits actually for a moment when her loneliness will be
disappear.
Left. Yeah, just she needs someone beside her.
Or anyone, because we have an appearance of Santa Claus at the end of the film. He's wearing his costume, and he might be every man,
yes,
like in a
absolutely.
Shakespearean play.
Yeah, it can be also somebody who just
missed the door.
Missed the door. Yeah. So sometimes it's like a life irony, you know. You meet somebody who is actually very, let's say, accident.
By accident.
By accident. And it can change all your life. So
I have a last one. Your fascination with Japanese art, I know
it's finished.
It's finished. Not anymore. Okay, but still, let me connect it.
So it's not the last question, obviously.
No, it is. We have to go on because otherwise. And did anybody saw Pretender? Is he alive? Okay, so probably he's sleeping. Vladimir, I think it's really beautiful, like some scenes in the film when you make a passage from like, I remember she's cleaning the snow and then you cut and it goes on a man shaving. This white that you put in, it's so important, I think, and this, I think it's taken a little bit from this fascination with Japanese art, which usually is like deep white and some black traces on it. Is it?
Yes, it's not a secret. I really very inspired by Japanese art. You cannot see it in my art, but you know, because I'm not going to repeat this, but I'm feeding myself from this inspiration. Yes, you're right. So.
Vladimir, one more about the music in your films. You again collaborated with Pierre-Yves Drapeau, as you did in Wings and Oars, also with Nona Roger in that film. So it sounds very good in your films. I think that it's a very fine choice of yours, or maybe Pierre-Yves Drapeau's. Who attracted him in this collaboration?
It's hard to say because Pierre-Yves, he's artist in his area. I mean, in sound creation. So when I finish film, I just give him a picture and ask him to do what he thinks is better. I'm not. I am not making any suggestions what I want, because I totally believe him, trust him. And then after maybe I can correct something if it's maybe not the way which I expected, but it's very rare. So he is good artist and master, so he do his things much better than me.
We must say for everybody, Pierre-Yves Drapeau is an independent composer and specializing in animated film music from Quebec, from Montreal, Quebec. And
Animateka's guest 5 years ago.
when we had like sound and music in animation. But it's a natural thing, your collaboration with him. Or you, again, like you will think from project to project. We had this discussion with Andrea Martinoli yesterday, and maybe it was not understood properly, but like this kind of fear to repeat also with sound and music, and it's a style of the composer, of course, no? That could continue, because really I think about Normand Roger, and you were explaining, Andrea, yesterday, that actually he has a folder. Okay, this author, it will be this kind of way and theme. But for you with Pierre-Yves, how it works, like the maybe it's too complicated.
No, no, but I don't know. It's I understand what you wanted to say. Actually, the next film I'm working already started to work with. I should say that we will make a break in this collaboration, because I just think that. I need some changes, and we will see after. But
as you are an artist and you are intuitive person, so changes are very welcome from time to time.
Vladimir, thank you very much. We have two more, and if Pretender comes in, please tell him to join us as well. So, Veljko, Planemo, Lemonade 3D Studio, and Krupni Kadar, co-production, 100% Croatian film. Is it?
Yes, it is. It's a rarity these days, but that is not an unfortunate thing. That's a very fortunate thing. I think it means that other countries are more opening up to us, and our producers are becoming more adept in seeking out co-productions. So
maybe just to explain to everybody, like Lemonade 3D is the studio that you and your brother actually founded.
Yeah.
And it's you kind of do your own artistic projects. But to survive, what you do to survive, like what?
I mean, it's for us. It's not even a thing about surviving. I think it's about having diversity. So sometimes it's really nice to work on a commercial project where you are not so much invested creatively and emotionally into it, but still you can explore the medium and explore different artistic approaches. And we try and choose projects, commercial projects, which are also creatively and technically interesting to us. So we use our short films for these, because our films, at least for me, are really they consume us so much, and it's really difficult if this would be a whole time thing. So sometimes it's very welcoming to have a project where you can just, you know, go to the client and say thank you and move on, as opposed to making a film, which is such a emotional and draining experience.
Let's talk about Planemo, or before going a little bit more deep into the film. Also, I think it's important, even in this medium of 3D where you are specializing, you try to change your style from film to film. And I think this is even more difficult for any other technique, because like, I guess, are you changing also software or?
I have this sadomasochistic line to me, I guess, because for each film I try to make myself uncomfortable somehow. I don't know why is this. So for this film I told myself I will not use any textures, so it will only be shaded with lightning, which is maybe it's a stupid thing to do to yourself. And also I used orthographic camera, which does not have perspective, and that's a really difficult thing to explain to someone, how a camera does not have a perspective. So there are this presents challenges to me, and also because I was getting a bit tired. I think everybody in studio was getting a bit tired with all the compositing from the previous films, because you would have like 6 different renders and then composite them all in After Effects later, and that's such a and you would always miss one layer somehow. It's always, and this becomes this like a labyrinth. So for this one we said no compositing. So a lot of the film is straight from the software. But this then creates other challenges, but this keeps us on our toes, and I think it keeps us creating films which are interesting for us to do, and maybe for the audience to experience and to watch.
By incorporating footage material, you achieved the documentary effect. Was it purposely in order to make whole story and phenomena of Planemo much easier to understand to the audience? You're
spot on there. The films kinda which we make are they're a bit philosophical and perhaps a bit bizarre in a lot of ways, and I always struggle how to approach the audience. So that I don't reveal too much, but I don't make something which is just perhaps a bit too bizarre. And with this film, the idea of Planemos is something which is not commonplace knowledge, but it's so integral for the story that we decided to create this mockumentary elements which explain the ideas of Planemos and the science behind Planemos, because this tangent between our main character and these planets, which are like solitary wanderers roaming the emptiness of the interstellar space, is really pivotal to the whole story. So that was for us it was a strategic decision, and also I really enjoy seeing mixed media in animation. And we were talking about Don Quixote earlier, which uses the similar technique of using the live action and animation and documentary animation. So it was something which I really wanted to try. So this was a good opportunity for this.
You're an animator, as also a scriptwriter for the film.
Yes, I'm a.
I'm intriguing with the way of your thinking, because I could say that you're trying to explore the position and maybe the possibilities of individual in her or his environment, or maybe globally. So it is, according to your previous films, pretty obvious. For example, in She Who Measures, we have individual that is stuck in a consumeristic civilization. Dove sei, amor mio, disillusioned old lady, stuck between all of his her
her imagination and real world.
Real world, yeah.
And at the end of the story, we have Planemo
Yeah.
and the individual in again in some very delicate situation.
Yes, it's it's really, I think it's a two-edged sword. This approach, I think you have to come. The story has to come from deep within you, because that's the only way you can make an authentic and believable story. If you try to make something which you see someone else is doing, and then you say, "Oh wow, this is great. Let me try and be like this person," then you get stuck in between yourself and this goal, and this is like no man's land for me. So I think you have to go from within yourself. But the problem is we all have this one deep problem inside ourselves, and it creeps into all of our work. For example, you mentioned Dove se amore mio. I wanted to make a romantic, lovable film, and it turned out into this nightmarish,
Pretty different.
nightmarish situation. So, and for Planemo, I wanted to make a narrative film. And you can all see how this went. So it's you start out with these ideas, and you always end up with yourself. So that's why all of these films have a similar subject, and I've come to terms with this. So maybe next film I will just from the start say it's gonna be like this confusing experimental attempt at psychoanalysis.
And you're gonna have
Just,
a love story, for example, at the end.
Yes, love story always.
Classical
Yeah, but the thing is, these Igor and festivals like these, they are the culprits, because I see so many great films, and I always say, wow, I wish I could make something like this. And I go home and I say, now I'm gonna make something like this film which I saw, which impacted me so. And that's the starting point, because I think we are all, at least this is for me, I have this museum exhibition in my head, and I fill it with all these different things that I gather at the festivals, and then when I'm home alone, I walk through the museum and I explore, and that's how I get inspired. So it's always some kind of this idea which is born from different impressions, and but then it ends up at the starting point, the autumn. So.
Maybe the last question, because then to give at least 5 minutes to Felix as well. Any particular huge problems, like also like in technical sides, like in the making of this film? Because I guess also like we see like these aesthetics are like overimposed, like you have different like media inset, as you were telling before. So any particular point where you were almost saying like, wow, why you cannot?
There is this funny, for each film there's one anecdote which kind of sums up the craziness. And for this film it was actually two things. One is the orthographic camera, which sounds really intriguing when you think about it at the beginning of the film, and it works really well for the first two shots. Then you come to the third shot, and it completely everything falls apart. And for this, it was the opening shot of the train as it goes around the bend, and then comes towards the camera. In orthographic camera, and I wanted to have the train coming towards the camera, like coming towards us. But because orthographic camera does not have the perspective, the train just stands there. Mm-hmm. It's not becoming smaller and bigger. It just stands like bobs in one place. It's super difficult to explain, but it's true, because it's without perspective you cannot have this illusion of thing coming towards you. So this was so orthographic camera was really the results are really interesting, but it was a struggle to work with. And the other thing is the poor animators, because all of the characters they're dissipated in the animation. So the animator has to create the beginning of the animation, the end of the animation, but we only see the middle, because the rest is so scattered. So the animator would make like 10 seconds and only, for example, we have a person typing on the keyboard, but he has to animate him entering the room, sitting on the chair, typing on the keyboard and leaving. So this is how we get the trails of the particles all around the room. It's, So he would do all this animation, and then this small bit would be actually visible, which completely inflates the budget, because for 2 seconds of animation you have to make 10. So, and this is really like Sinisha Matajić really came through, and Natalia Marcos, because they're like super fast, and which was crucial for the project. Otherwise, we would be in a load of a problem. Yeah.
This to end, it's also like to say that it seems like in Croatia right now there is this pool of people working in animation, and they can also adapt to work with other productions. One of the maybe a good thing was the Chris the Swiss, the animated documentary feature, where the majority of the Croatian authors, being authors, had to follow the pipeline, and so like to understand what's the process of making it. And actually, it's with your projects, it's like you are doing things like that. You try to get people involved to help you. Of course, you cannot do everything by yourself, and it's a positive thing, I think, nowadays.
Yes, I think it is. I think projects like Chris the Swiss, I would not say my projects because they're small productions, but I think we're a very small country, and as long as we can cooperate and exchange ideas and work together on projects, we have a chance of trying and moving ourselves from this point that we are now in. So yeah, it's a really welcoming thing, and also really encouraging to see a lot of co-productions, especially now with Canada, the NFB, and I think these kind of things will open up new spaces for Croatian animation. So it's a great thing.
Okay, Felix, sorry to wait so long.
No problem.
Welcome to Animateka, welcome to Ljubljana. It's our first time we meet.
It's my first time. Thank you very much for having me.
It's your first film as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Compliments. I think it's a good first shot.
Thank you very much.
We were shortly talking before, so it's actually you've been studying at the University of Applied Arts in Vienna, if I'm not wrong, with Thomas Renolder?
No, Thomas Renolder is at the Academy of Fine Arts, and I'm at the other university.
But this film then was partly part of your studies, but in a big way made by yourself at home.
Exactly. I would say 3/4 was independent, and for 1/4 I got feedback. So it was kind of a mixture between independent and student work.
For me, it's also like you made it in Photoshop. So like again, like such a basic tool, but if you have a story it's strong, or you want to tell something, you can use it, and it doesn't. Maybe it bothers you the first 20 seconds because it's a little bit poor in terms of, but then it fits the story. You know, that's I felt with your film, like this dark gray. What's going on in this the head of this person who is like living a normal life, but then being hunted by what he do as a job. Why this story? Where it came from? It came from probably from the time we are living in. It's not or like in Austria, there are many stories about individuals that are keeping people in their cellars, and like it's kind of an Austrian Belgian thing, I could say.
Hopefully not anymore. The story came from a self-experiment actually. I built a machine once during my study where you could waterboard yourself, but it wasn't about torture at this time. But I tried it on myself for 7 seconds, and I was devastated actually. And then I thought, oh my God, this is really torture. Either you call it enhanced interrogation technique, or it is called white torture or clean torture. It is torture, and it's horrible. And this gave me let's say the push to get more and more into this theme, into this topic, and I researched more, and I went from documentary to documentary, and I read the CIA torture report as well, and so I got more deeper and deeper in this uncomfortable topic.
It is definitely a so-called black story because of the character, because of the main character, but is it at the same time kind of engaging film, because you're definitely against any kind of torturing.
Aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm extremely against torture, like everyone else here in this room, but I'm quite interested in those.
Maybe.
I would say so.
Yeah,
it is a short film, but functions as a kind of a study of human nature. You're exploring human character, and it is at the same time the matters of conscience. Because the guy at the end of the film, I cannot remember.
He can't sleep anymore.
Can't sleep, yes.
But on the other side, we don't know what he's doing on the next day. And this was extremely important for me. I just wanted to show a little bit of a life, of his life, of the torturer's life. Not an ending. He didn't quit his job or anything. Those people in the real world don't quit their jobs at some, or at least I don't want to show this point. I wanted to show a little bit of his life, and we as a viewer can think of it then whatever we want.
Yeah.
Is he going to go back? Does his wife get his child?
Actually, this is a scary moment, because then we think like poor child, like living in such an environment with a father that. But is it like you took some, because it's okay, it's not Iraq, it's a urban city, but to me it was kind of like, I don't know why, I was thinking about Stasi, about GDR, I don't know why.
It wasn't quite my intention to make something concrete, actually. I wanted to have it as abstract as possible. That's why I used my fictional characters, I call them box humans. And yeah, this fictional city and no language, so I wanted to make it as abstract as possible.
So you will continue? It's like you have ideas that actually the character is maybe as in a comic strip that goes on for your next film as well?
The characters per se, I will work with them again, but this film is done, actually. So yeah, my next project will contain those box humans again. And
do you think you'll stay with the same technique, or you try to explore more in terms of, because like in a way, you know, also we can see here in the picture, it bothers us first, there are no hands, but then like it's okay, like, because we believe you make it such a strong psychologization of the character that it doesn't matter in a way, no? But are you willing to go further on in terms of also like aesthetic and artistic?
Absolutely. I'm currently working on exact walk cycles, not those fake walk cycles. The new evolution, as I call, of the box humans have hands and feet. They gain a bit stronger, they get a bit more humanoid. But I will try to get better in After Effects, of course.
Felix, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the festival.
I will.
We are already 5 minutes over our time. I will let us all have 10 minutes break, and then please, if you are interested to hear what's the perspective, philosophy, methodology of animated film festival in the region, I think we will be 8 of us. I see Pavel Horacek that just came from Czech Republic. Please be with us in 10 minutes, and we will make it in a way that anybody of you can ask questions, and so it's like let's make it an interactive. It's not a meeting between us festival programmers, but it should be open for everybody. So 10 minutes, and have some coffee, have some breakfast, and let's be back here. Thank you.